Hello, hello. Dr. Brett Spradlin here at Divine Design Natural Health. We're talking about nothing but the blood tonight. Is there anybody here that wants to hear anything about that?
Yes.
Fabulous. Let's get right into this. Oh, and June 3rd is the next event we're doing, which is going to be called it's a Weston A. Price topic in the Weston A. Price series. It's going to be called Pottinger's Cats, I do believe. You will want to see this. It will explain so much that's going on in modern healthcare. It'll blow your mind. But you guys ready?
Yes.
Nothing but the blood. May 6th. Let's do this. Major points that I want to get across to you. You might want to write these down. These are the major points I want you to get. We have officially violated the sanctity of the human bloodstream thousands of times. I'm going to show you what I mean by that. Not we, but society. If you learn some very simple physiology, you will never be a slave to information manipulation. If you learn some very, very, very simple physiology. When you change someone's physiology, you change their behavior. How are people's physiologies changed today? Any idea? How about food? How about air? What's in the air? How about what's in the water? How about medications? How about vaccinations? How about anything that goes on or in your body that changes your physiology, changes your behavior. Right, parents? Anything. So when you're wondering why everybody's acting weird, I have ways to explain that. A review of patients who have succumbed to pathogenic diseases will show a weakness in their nutritional status and or a plethora of prescription drugs in the forms of vaccines and medications. Understand that. Okay. I'm not going to get into this tonight, but you best go back and read Genesis chapter 6 just in order to understand what's currently happening in the world, because this isn't the first time it's ever happened. That's all I'll say about that. We might touch on it later on, but I would say go back and really check that out and understand. And we'll have a little thought experiment tonight that will help you understand what I mean by that. But you might need to review. This, I've said it one time, I'll say it a million times. This is Dr. Royal Lee from 1935. One of the greatest quotes you will ever see. One of the biggest tragedies of human civilization is the precedence of chemical therapy over nutrition. It's a substitution of artificial therapy over nature, of poisons over food, in which we are feeding people poisons trying to correct the reactions of starvation. Everything you know in healthcare, everything you know in a hospital, a cancer center, it doesn't matter, is going after this. It is a substitution of artificial therapy, drugs, hypodermic needles, unbelievable crap they smear on your skin, corticosteroid creams, hormone patches. It's artificial therapy over nature, poisons over food. You ever see the hospital food they feed people? You ever go to the cafeteria? Go to the hospital cafeteria. Just, you owe it to yourself to go see that your kids are being fed, the prisoners are being fed better food than your family members, in which we are feeding people poisons to correct the reactions of, another way of saying this is malnutrition. Want to know why the hospitals are falling apart? Want to know why the people are falling apart? That right there was said 95 years ago, or 90 years ago. Next. If the germ theory of disease was true, there would be no one left alive to believe it. There should be a couple giggles from that one, because B.J. Palmer, not the founder of chiropractic, but the developer of chiropractic, the son of the founder, said this. To paraphrase it, I would say, if the progression of disease was simply a matter of being exposed to germs, we would all have died long ago, because we're all exposed to germs. But medicine says every disease is one of two things: germs or genetics. They remove the burden of proof, and they just say, well, everything's genetics or it's a germ. So what do? They give you a shot to change your genetics after they scared you about a germ. I'll show you later. Next, what we will cover this evening. So that's just the preliminary. Those are some of the things I want you to get out of this. I want you to understand. I want you to remember those things there. Here's what we're going to be covering. What is blood? I'm going to give you a practical application one thing that you should do with your blood pressure cuff that no one does. Very few people. Number 3, what about blood chemistry analysis? And no, it's not to shove it in a bodily orifice, although I'd like to have your doctor shove it in a bodily orifice. What about blood chemistry analysis? I wanted to get these right out of the way up front in a class called What About the Blood? Or nothing but the blood. I wanted to address these right away. Number 4, the thought experiment. That's where we'll kind of touch on the Genesis chapter 6 thing. Number 5, a very short list of concerning events in human blood since 2020. Does anybody know of anything that's been going on in human blood since 2020? Weird stuff? We'll cover it. Number 6, what is happening to human blood today? We'll have a short little illustrative video on that. Number 7, what's the importance of blood from Adam, Old Testament, to Jesus, New Testament? What's the importance? Why is everything so bloody? Next. 8. Why is the blood sacrifice so important biblically? Number 9. Block, suppress, inhibit equals steal, kill, destroy. You'll see what I mean by that. Pharmakia and idolatry, we'll talk briefly on that. We've spoken on it in many classes. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. We bring dead horses back to life around here. But red devil chemotherapy, you need to know about this. This is interesting. I just learned about this the other day. A patient told me this. Isn't it great when your patients educate you on something you never heard of? Number 12, a list of gifts from the medical field. This right here, I want you to understand this. I want you to take pictures of everything because this will blow your mind. A list of gifts from the medical field. Number 13, some U.S. healthcare statistics. Number 14, biblical reasons to avoid the desecration of human blood that's currently happening. Number 15, what should you look for in true natural healthcare? And number 16, nothing but the blood. So stick around for that. It's very special. Next, let's get right into this. What is blood? Well, it's the power that sustains life at every moment. Without it, you would die, and it's something that you never think about until you lose it. Kind of like your health. Very similar to your health. Go ahead. Makes up about 7 or 8% of body weight. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you've got about 15 pounds of blood in you. That's a lot of blood. So that would be about the weight of about 2 gallons. Like if you were to pick up 2 gallons of water in gallon jugs, that'd be about the weight of that. So that's a lot of blood. It's classified, most people forget this, but it's classified as a connective tissue. Very interesting, like up there with bones and tendons and ligaments. But it's a connective tissue because it connects everything else, right? It delivers oxygen, minerals, amino acids, and hormones, neurotransmitters, other stuff like that. But it removes the carbon dioxide, so it's causing all the climate change. Urea, uric acid, and other waste products. I was just kidding about that. That's a hoax. Don't believe me on that. Imagine a pipeline joining every country. Rafts full of treasure then become barges hauling away refuse. So it's this very interesting thing where you've got these cells that carry all the good stuff, and as the good stuff's being unloaded, the bad stuff is being loaded onto it. Very efficient system. Took hundreds of millions of years of evolution for that to occur, didn't it? Composition is 55% plasma. We'll talk about plasma later. That's like the straw-colored yellow stuff that when you spin it down in a centrifuge, all the big formed elements go against the side, and the spinning yellow stuff in the middle is your plasma. So that's 55% plasma, 45% formed elements. The plasma, a lot of it's water. So remember the class that we did called You're Full of It on water and what kind of water you need to be putting in your body? 91% of your body's water. 91% of your blood is water. 9% dissolved substances. So that's all your amino acids, your hormones, your things like that. Your formed elements are all your red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. So it's a 55-45 split. You got 100 trillion cells in the human body. Your body contains about 5 to 6 quarts of blood. Adults have about 20 or 30 trillion red blood cells. Mind-boggling. 20% of what's going on is your red blood cells. Next. Red blood cells circulate 500,000 round trips over 4 months. They survive about 120 days. You want to know why every care plan that we do here with people is 3 to 4 months? Go back, go back, go back. We're looking at changing your blood in 3 to 4 months. That's why. The purification is a 21-day process. So we do that at the end of the 3-month thing, and boom, within 4 months, I guarantee that every single one of your blood cells, from when you start to the end of phase 1, your blood is brand new. So guess what? We get rid of a lot of the crap in your blood. Next, there we go. 300 billion red blood cells are recycled every day, blah, blah, blah. And a speck of blood the size of a lowercase o. Look down at your paper somewhere, make a little speck of what a lowercase o would look like. It's fascinating. Contains 5 million red blood cells, 300,000 platelets, and 7,000 white blood cells. Unbelievable, isn't it? Thank God for evolution happening. Travels through 60,000 miles of blood vessels, I tell you. And 3 minutes without oxygen, here's the thing. You go 3 minutes without oxygen, 3 hours without shelter, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. That's a round estimate. That's a rule of thumb. But here's the whole kicker. And we'll explain how we take this scripture farther down the road. Leviticus 17:11, I had a major revelation about the scripture one day. It says, the life of the flesh is in the blood. And it's also interesting, farther down the road, probably just 6 or 8 months ago, I had this major revelation about, the life is in the blood. Medicine says, when your heart stops beating or your brain stops, having activity, electroencephalogram activity, EEG activity, when your body doesn't have a heartbeat or a brain activity, they call you dead. But the Bible doesn't say that. The Bible doesn't say that the life of the flesh is in the heart or the brain. It says the life of the flesh is in the blood. Isn't that interesting? So we'll talk more about that later. So that's what is blood. Here's one worthwhile function of your free blood pressure cuff. How many of you in here ever got a free blood pressure cuff from your atheistic, evolutionary, pharmaceutical, drug-pushing, white coat atheist? Anybody? Anybody? Huh? Usually I have to pay for them, or Medicare or the VA. They'll give you a free blood pressure cuff so you can drive yourself crazy taking your blood pressure while you're watching CNN every night, usually. Or Fox, it doesn't matter. But they just want you taking your blood pressure so that you're always freaked out, because they want you to think that your heartbeat is a disease. I'll explain that later. Put it around your arm, pump it up to about 200 milligrams of mercury. Make a hard fist over and over. All you people at home watching along, do this. You're going to love this. Make a fist over and over. This will cause insane tightness and weakness, and then there's going to be horrible pain as toxins build up in your muscles, right? Then it's because all these working muscles create metabolites, but it would normally be washed away by your blood, but remember, you've got a blood pressure cuff on. So you're pumping waste into all your muscles here. It's getting horrible, horrible, horrible. Then what happens? Then take off the cuff, stop worrying about your head blowing off. Number 6, stop regularly ingesting poisons that cause your high blood pressure that your doctors aren't telling you about, right? To increase, that cause your blood pressure to increase and your blood to be poisoned. That's what's causing your high blood pressure. But this isn't a blood pressure class. I just want to show you number 7. Then the last step you do is you bring the cuff to me and I will dispose of it for you properly. I have big boxes of crutches and wheelchairs and walking sticks and all this crap. And I've got a bunch of blood pressure cuffs. And we're going to have a big Book of Acts burning the spell books night. One of these days, we're going to do it on top of this building, and it's going to light up the entire southeast side of Tennessee. I can't wait. Along with, yes. And if you need me, you know what? I'll even run a special tonight. Why don't we do this, Sam? If any of you want me to come over to your house and murder your television for you, I'll do it for free. I've offered it many times in the past. Some people have taken me up on it. We had a good time. And I'd do that for you. Just till the end of the week, though. Put it on the calendar. I'll get there. What about blood chemistry analysis? I get this question all the time. In a class about the blood, I felt like we had to kind of cover it, even though it's boring. Number 1, reference ranges are not standardized, even if you go from state to state or if you go from Quest to LabCorp. They look like they're similar ranges, but they're not. Number 2, they're based on numbers from healthy people or sick people. Number 3, they're completely ignorant of processed foods, drugs, and injections in blood samples. So when people come to me and they say, I want you to take my blood, I say, you're talking to the wrong dude. Well, what do you mean? Because you're not eating good food and you're on 15 medications. I'm not looking at your blood. I'm looking at Chick-fil-A and I'm looking at lisinopril. So your blood is being artificially manipulated to look good on paper, even though you're falling apart. Your doctors aren't going to tell you this. Right there, number 3, completely ignores all the crap that's in your blood. Processed food, drugs, and somebody on their 10th booster. I'm not looking at your blood. I'm looking at some, I'll show you what we're looking at later on. Number 4, disregards all the healthy blood results in sick body situations. where your body or your doctor says, well, your lab results are normal, but you know that you're not. And ignores all that, disregards it. Number 5, has never healed anyone. Has anyone ever got a blood chemistry panel or a CBC or a CMP or whatever your doctors will call it and came out and went, I'm healed. Hallelujah. No, they have not. But has never healed anyone. But number 6, but it's still another red flag. It's covered by your insurance. See why? Because it doesn't do anything. That's why. That's why it's covered by your insurance. And when you get it done by your insurance, then you get to argue with the doctor who ordered it and the lab who took it and the insurance company who doesn't partner or network with either one of them, and then you get stuck in the middle. Isn't that great? Number 7, success is often measured by improved numbers rather than radical disappearance of symptoms. People say, oh, I got my hemoglobin A1C down to 4.2. And you say, well, how's your diabetes? Oh, I still have it. Your connective tissue goes into a database and untold other places. Wonder where it goes. I don't know. Number 9, trust is placed in the test results rather than the body's healing potential, and you don't have to change your behavior. You just keep eating the same crap, getting the same number of boosters, taking the same amount of drugs. You don't have to change anything. We're going to manipulate your blood with the drugs. Isn't that great? And we're wondering why people are falling apart at the seams and the kids are tripping over chalk lines on the playground, right? Which they don't have anymore. Number 10, most functional medicine relies upon megadose synthetic nutraceuticals made in China. Number 11, most pathological allopathic medical doctor medicine relies upon toxic poisonous pharmaceuticals made in China. There you go. That's why we don't do blood labs. So here's a thought experiment. Here it is. You okay? Okay. I just wanted to make sure. It's the steak. Okay, here's a thought experiment. I wrote this for Darkness to Light Part 10 back in 2021, and I thought, I was thinking about this, putting this class together, and I thought this is the time to pull this out again. I wrote all this in a moment of inspiration, and I think you'll see where this goes. So years ago, scientists unearthed DNA from, quote-unquote, transhuman hybrids that many know to be discussed in the Bible. They formulate a plot to deceive mankind into merging with the hybrid, thereby releasing transhuman hybrid manifestation through human blood. Disseminating the idea through decades of media programming and motion pictures, they present transhumanism as mankind's only salvation, merging with machines and perhaps even altering DNA to become more advanced, they say. In essence, being made in the image of God must be willfully surrendered in order to be made in the image of a beast. They knew that some would view altering their genetic structure as unacceptable. So they devised a plan to present the solution in the form of a life-threatening pandemic that could only be prevented by a vaccine given in multiple doses over many months. The ominous ingredients of the vaccine must be hidden, perhaps by labeling such as a spike protein or some other semblance of manufactured viral particles. The transition would be imperceptible, and adverse reactions would be confused by multiple vaccines from multiple manufacturers, dispensed liberally throughout the nations, and interspersed with harmless saline solution injections for celebrities and media influencers, so as to avoid any immediate public reactions to subsequent vaccine-induced conditions. If human DNA is being altered, the unasked question is this: into what is the human form being altered? The contents of the vaccine are not to be divulged. Media sources announce compulsory vaccinations on the heels of worldwide shutdowns and fear of touching others. People willfully lock themselves in their homes, only to consume more media propaganda denouncing all common sense, logic, and critical thought. The only option offered by hospitals and medical workers is a newly designed mRNA vaccine, despite tens of thousands of available drugs already used for decades. Those who speak against the official narrative are criticized, silenced, and labeled as domestic terrorists. Millions line up for the shot. Deaths are mislabeled, statistics are faked, pharmacists receive blank product monographs. Health departments receive no information about the contents of the vaccine and proceed to alternate manufacturers weekly or as shipments randomly dictate. Faulty tests blanket the world, convincing healthy people that they're asymptomatic carriers. Whole nations bow their knee to government rather than God. Some vaccine recipients report to hospitals with neurological or cardiac conditions, while others have skin falling from their bodies. The diagnosis is always the same and later moves to be called a variant. Many notice that magnets stick to the injection site due to magnetic nanoparticles discovered within the vaccine. Others notice veins that glow under a black light or an ultraviolet bulb. Evidence surfaces online of ominously numbered patents regarding luminescent enzyme technology and self-assembly of nanoparticles, which can be controlled by certain frequencies of electromagnetic radiation now widely available through the use of cellular phones. The vaccine content spread through the sweat and the breath of the vaccinated to their unvaccinated counterparts, rendering them sick and susceptible to a diagnosis that drives them to also receive the shot in hopes of avoiding impending sickness. Hospitals receive bonus compensation for using certain protocols proven to produce casualties, and immunity is granted to those institutions that follow the official government-sponsored protocols. Many question, how could doctors do this? The answer is simple. They are no longer fully human doctors. The doctors, nurses, and healthcare workers were the first to receive the transhuman hybrid shot and are now under the spell dreamt up by the governing elite who are hard at work ushering a new level of transhuman hybrids made in the image of the beast, no longer operating in the image of God. Portals, wormholes, and transdimensional stargates are no longer necessary for transhuman hybrid manifestation if millions willfully open their bodies to the entrance of manipulation in the name of government safety. The blood covenant between humans and transhuman hybrids has now been established. See why we're talking about the blood? Booster shots are produced quickly to make the recipients less and less human. Rage, confusion, and hate result from decades of lies and manipulation. The vaccines produced with aborted human DNA and transhuman hybrid DNA are now intermingled with human blood in an open ritual to transform man into beast, image of God into image of Satan, sovereign worship into pagan idolatry in the name of government security against a pathogen that still to this day has never been isolated in any laboratory in the world. They don't have it. There's no laboratory in the world with an isolated sample of the COVIDs. So we're talking about blood tonight. I hope you understand why. Sam, come on up. Let's do a commercial break. Give her a round of applause.
This patient said, I have had persistent allergy issues for years that have gotten progressively worse over time. I have also had blood pressure and weight issues that have been hard to control. Since being at Divine Design, my diet has definitely improved with a greater focus on raw vegetables. My allergies have now scaled back considerably to where I have terminated daily nasal sprays, inhalers, and allergy medications. My energy and immune system have stepped up, and I'm also showing improvement in blood pressure and weight. So, a lot of stuff. Weird.
So 3 drugs for allergies: inhalers, nasal sprays, and what was the allergy meds? Yeah. Interesting. Funny, huh? And I bet you still had allergies after all the drugs. We have a class called You Don't Have Allergies. I would highly recommend you check it out. Okay, let's check into some memes. I just want you all to know, we will never reach herd myocarditis without more vaccines. Somebody needs to laugh at that. That is highly worthy of a laugh. They tell you these are bad so they can sell you these. What do we got? Butter, salt, sunshine, eggs, raw milk, beef, coconut oil. Down here we got drugs, more pills, low salt, sunscreen, Crisco, oatmeal, Cheerios, fat-free, Beyond Burger, and vegan butter, Earth Balance. All stuff that will make you die. Interesting, huh? In honor of OJ kicking the bucket, I wanted to put this. Remember that? He was a freedom fighter, I'm telling you. He's a freedom fighter. He was innocent, even though he admitted it. He was innocent. Next. Ask your doctor if a drug with 1,291 side effects listed on 32 pages, including blood clots, strokes, and heart attacks, is right for you. Brought to you by Pfizer. Next. If we could all stop listening to people who tried to kill us, that would be great. Wow, got absolutely nothing. Very short list of concerning events in human blood since 2020. So you got the COVIDs, you got the multiple scary variants that very suspiciously came and went. You had a bunch of boosters. We're now on number 10, by the way. They're now on the childhood vaccination schedule. So now all the kids that are being born will have multiple COVIDs, hoax, lethal injections throughout the course of their life, taking the grand total of vaccines from 72 to almost 100 by the time you're 18. Yeah. Yep. Thank you, medicine. Spike proteins, what was it really? Well, reread the thing that we just talked about. The spike proteins, let me ask you this. If there was no virus and there was no isolated sample of the virus, how did they design a vaccine with a spike protein in it? Interesting. It's not a virus. Huh. So what is it? What are the spike proteins that they're talking about? I have an idea. Shedding. You got 4 ways stuff gets into your body. You're only going to do 4 things. You're going to get stuff into your body from inhalation, like the allergy inhalers and the nasal sprays, which they're making vaccines into nowadays as well, so as you don't get spooked out with the needles, because people like me are starting to educate people that a snake bite is not a good thing. So you've got inhalation, you've got ingestion, right? Either you eat it or you drink it. You've got injection. What's the other way something gets into your body? Absorption. So injection, ingestion, inhalation, or absorption. Shedding. Something goes into your body. What has to happen? Something has to come out. How does stuff come out of your body? Ready? Urination, defecation, respiration, perspiration. So if you absorb it, you perspire, right? If you drink it or eat it, you pee or poo, right? If you inhale, you respirate. So everything that comes into your body has to be filtered and then pushed out. That's what we do here with the foot spa, sauna, pulse. That's what we do here. We speed up the whole detox process. So what would normally take your body years to get out, we do it in a few weeks. So shedding, if somebody, let's see, if wife is getting hormone treatment, what happens to the husband? Anybody? He gets treated too. What do you mean? When you crawl under the covers at night and you sweat together, or you do whatever happens under the covers, you change skin, bodily fluids, and guess what? So when somebody gets the shot, all this nonsense, are they just keeping it in themselves, or are they sharing it with the rest of us? So you got 4 ways that things are coming out. And women, you have +1, menstruation. Next. Prion, that's if you believe the whole man and woman thing. I mean, it is 2024. So dudes use tampons now. We're all equal, right? Prion molecules. What are prion molecules? They're abnormal folding of cellular proteins. So your body creates proteins, but if they can't fold the right way, or it doesn't even have to be your body creating the proteins. It could be your body ingesting or inhaling, right, the proteins, or absorbing the proteins. But you've got abnormal folding, something that causes abnormal folding of cellular proteins. Remember mad cow disease? Remember that 30 years ago? That somehow strangely happened right where they figured out how to genetically modify what the cattle were eating? Strange. Can't be related. Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, that's mad cow disease for humans. Might want to look into that. But that's the prion molecules. We're finding prion molecules in human blood since 2020. Graphene oxide, what's that? That's magnetic, trackable, programmable nanoparticles. Interesting. All Department of Defense creations. Interesting. mRNA particles, messenger RNA particles. That's injected genetic material. Genetic material from where? What is it? They don't want you to know. They wanted to give you a whole 75 years to figure it out, the pharmaceutical companies. Then there's lipid nanoparticles. We could go on. I could teach whole classes on all this nonsense. Next. What's ridiculous? Intravenous therapy. So you've got right down here is a place where you can go and get your hormone injections. It's IV therapy, IV hydrotherapy, something. And there's tons of them popping up from all the nurse practitioners who are getting disenfranchised with medicine, but they still want to use their license. So they go out and they start these intravenous IV therapy places. So you can get synthetic megadose nutraceuticals, which are, I say safe drugs, but they're not. They're not safe drugs, from a pharmacia laboratory. Or the other big thing that happened in 2020 was everybody was clamoring over monoclonal antibodies because they're like, oh, it's a cancer treatment. Well, what is it really? You might want to look into it. It's harvested from horse, pig, cow, human, etc., distributed by pharmacia laboratories. Interesting, huh? They get you coming and going, and you think you're avoiding the pharmaceutical companies, but you're buying the stuff from the pharmaceutical companies you're trying to avoid. Interesting. You might want to watch New Age for Old Devils for these two, as well as this one, the venom peptides. So we're finding all kinds of weird cone snail, scorpion, snake, Gila monster venom crap in all the drugs. It's probably been there for decades. Some of the drugs are actually have been around for decades that have been openly available on the market made from venoms, snake venoms, and spider venoms. If you want to know more about that, check out New Age for Old Devils. It's DDNH number 187, which strangely enough is the police call sign for murder. 187, murder in progress. Murder in progress. And that, I didn't plan that. That's just the way it worked out. Venom peptides, fibrinolytic and proteolytic enzymes. So lytic means destroy, fiber. So fiber destroying and protein destroying enzymes. What would happen if you pumped some fiber destroying and protein destroying enzymes into human blood? It might destroy the fiber and the protein in the human body, right? So vessel inflammation, endothelial dysfunction. Endothelium is the inside of your blood vessels, arteries and veins. Next, so this is just a short list. This is a short list. Myocarditis, pericarditis, strokes, and heart attacks in younger people, healthy athletes, kids. Now it's normal for kids to have strokes and heart attacks. The died suddenly phenomenon, we'll talk about here in a minute. VAIDS. People always ask me, why do you call it COVIDs? I'll show you. Because VAIDS is a vaccine-acquired immune deficiency syndrome. I've never called it COVID. I've called it COVIDs because that's what it is. It's a vaccine-acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. I'll show you here in a second. And then, of course, my favorite is the sudden adult death syndrome, not to be confused with the sudden infant death syndrome, which is totally different but exactly the same. Turbo cancer is taking over at a rapid pace. I'm sure you've all heard of friends, family, coworkers, church people, all getting rabid cancers. One of my mentors got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and 6 months later, his wife got diagnosed with colon cancer, all 6 months apart. He's not in a natural health. Let me just say that. But I know exactly what happened. So the turbo cancers are going out of control, and you've got a bunch of embalmers, funeral home directors, forensic pathologists, other doctors. Of course, you can't hear any of this on the mainstream media or any of the big tech platforms because they all get banned. But you've got all these guys noticing clots never seen before. And on that note, let's roll the video. Oh, actually, let me show you this before. Let me show you. This is a fact check from February 11th, 2022. Fact. VAIDS is not a real vaccine-induced syndrome. Fact check. This was February 11th, 2022. Experts consulted by Reuters said there is no such thing as a vaccine-acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, or VAIDS, as claimed online, and COVIDs vaccines do not hurt the immune system. Now, that was February 11th, 2022. Here we are. October 1st, 2023, a year and a half later. Canadian government admits 74% of triple vaccinated now have VAIDS. The data reveals that the double vaccinated population across Canada has lost 74% of their immune system. Triple vaccinated has lost 73% of their immune system compared to the natural immune system. Isn't that great? So the fact checkers had it wrong. So let's go ahead and roll this clip. Died suddenly trailer.
Why? Why do we never believe them?
These people know. These people know.
Who knows?
The governments know. This has been well planned. This is Agenda 2030. This is the Great Reset.
Somebody mentioned to go onto Google and go into the news section and then type in "died suddenly." And lo and behold, here's a whole listing of people, of articles, of people within that last week who died suddenly. Older people, but a lot of younger people around the world.
and then you find out they were vaccinated. And so it's like, okay, so it's the vaccine might be causing this.
Most people don't want to know what's in the vaccines.
But yet when we open it almost 2 years into this, we find that it still says intentionally blank.
In fact, nobody wants to know what's in the vaccines because, look, if people understood what was in the vaccine, they'd go apeshit.
It's just there's something different about the blood. Something's causing this, and something needs to be said. Somebody needs to look into it. I talked to other embalmers that have 30, 40, even 50 years of experience. Have you guys ever seen this stuff before? And the answer was always, I've never seen anything like it.
Why is Bill Gates involved in public health? And why does public health spend the first part telling you how the world is overpopulating?
And at first glance, this is a bit scary.
U.S. life insurance companies have reported an overwhelming and unexplainable increase in all-cause deaths among 18 to 49-year-olds.
That's a 12 sigma event, 1 in 800 years, 12 standard deviations above the mean.
No one's even calculated that. It's apocalyptic.
I thought he was protected with that Pfizer.
There's a huge part of me that feels a responsibility for everything that's happened. I'm so sorry.
The doctor after a while came out and said, your son's dead, you can go home now.
Who knows? Young people are dying these days.
I said to Mr. Hirschman, this is different. This isn't normal, is it? And he said, absolutely not.
The dead can't speak for themselves, so therefore, I have to speak for them.
We're connecting dots here. You know, there's no way that that type of obstruction would not cause stroke, heart failure.
My sister died. She was 58, and she died suddenly on Friday of a heart attack.
They will do with you what they feel like doing to you. It's the new bullet, it's the new missile, it's the new form of warfare.
I wanted people to understand that we're in a 5th generation warfare for the heart and the mind.
This is the greatest orchestrated die-off in the history of the world.
There's most definitely evil in this world, and evil like we could not possibly imagine.
Orchestrated die-off in the history of the world. You are living in it. Do we need to go back? Are we on Facebook again? I can pull it back up. Might as well. Just let's run it, but we can edit it later. Do we need to do commercial break or just go right into the why is the sacrifice important?
Probably commercial break while I get that stream.
Okay. Fabulous. Sam, commercial break.
All right. This patient said, when I first came to Divine Design, I couldn't even hold my arm up to be tested. My doctors told me that I had high cholesterol and high blood pressure, and they wanted to give me poisonous drugs. Now my blood tests are better than my doctors are, and I eat better food, and I feel great. I am 80 years old, and I only come in once per month just to maintain my progress.
Perfect. As opposed to Medicare or murder care, as I call it. Okay, let's check out some memeage for some.
Let's just upload later.
Okay. Got the memes? There we go. There's me trying to find all the pro jabbers on social media now. Remember how it was the, I'm vaccinated and proud banner? Next, is the vaccine safe? Yes, of course. My daughter has been having chest pains. Your child has myocarditis. What caused this to happen? Climate change. Companies are bragging about making plants taste like meat. Cows have been doing that forever. Pills and surgery? Packed. Lifestyle change? Guy's reading a book. Look at that. Next. Be careful not to spread fake news. Leave that to the pros. Excellent. Okay, why is the sacrifice of blood so important? Here it is in a nutshell. This is why. This is a huge deal. It relates to the individual standing before God. Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in process of time, the Bible says, it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord, and Abel he also brought of the firstlings of his flock, and that of the fat thereof. The Lord respected Abel and his offering, but he did not respect Cain and his offering. Why? By faith, Abel offered to God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, through which he obtained witness that he was righteous, God testifying of his gifts, and through it, he being dead still speaks. That is Hebrews 11 telling how this happened back in Genesis. So we know that faith comes by hearing, Romans says. So it's reasonable to assume that the two sons knew the power of the blood because their parents shared their experience in the garden. Would you not say? It's reasonable. So God gave a revelation of the blood covenant when he sacrificed animals to atone for their sin and clothed them with skins that very likely could have been still wet with blood. So this was a sign of redemption and deliverance to come. Both sons knew God had demanded a blood covenant. That's why God asked Cain, "Why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted?" Cain knew what was right, but he didn't do it. Instead, he offered a gift of vegetation. God refused it. Cain offered the fruit of his own hands, demonstrating his rejection of God's revealed covenant. Just as Adam's fig leaf covering was rejected and judged unacceptable by God after the fall of man, so for the same reason was Cain's offering. Both were a product of their own works. Interesting. So God had established the principle of the blood sacrifice in the Garden of Eden as a necessary requirement when approaching him. By faith, Abel was obedient and offered his first fruits of his flock. Cain's rejection demonstrates the importance of a right standing before a God who does what? Makes and keeps covenants. So there is a great difference between presenting what God demands and merely giving a present. God said, "Why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? If you do what's right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin's crouching at your door, it desires to have you, but you must master it." Cain ignored the warning, as we all know. Now Cain said to his brother Abel, "Let's go out to the field." While they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. So the first murder in the Bible was the result of spiritual disobedience in dealing with what? Blood. Am I my brother's keeper? This was a lie of indifference and contempt in Genesis 4:9. What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. So we know that the blood still speaks even after it's no longer in your body. Forensic science would agree with that. Abel's blood cried out for vengeance. The blood of Jesus pleads forgiveness and restoration. The blood is not a topic to be shunned, ignored, or disregarded. This right here is the whole topic of this entire event tonight. The blood's not a topic that you should shun, or ignore, or disregard, or desecrate, or take lightly. It's a big deal. It's still our vital link to God. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, the word of their testimony. So is human blood a big deal? Yes. Is the desecration of human blood happening today? Is that a huge violation of what should be happening? Yes. So the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. How do they pollute your blood? Well, most people do it themselves. Whatever they eat, they drink, they wear, they absorb, what we talked about. What you ingest, eating or drinking, what you absorb, right? What you inhale, and then the third one is injection. Well, most people ingest drugs. Drugs are specifically designed to block, suppress, and inhibit normal human physiology. Anyone in this room who has any type of history or training in medicine or pharmacological ingredients would know that there are blockers, suppressors, and inhibitors. Right? Next. So your body is tricked and manipulated by toxic chemical poisons. Here are some examples. Beta blockers, calcium channel blockers, proton pump inhibitors. All your blood pressure drugs are right here. Not all of them, but some of them are right here. All your gastroesophageal reflux heartburn drugs are right here. All your Tums, your Rolaids, your Prilosec, your Nexium, your Zantac, all that crap. Those are some of the most best-selling drugs in history. Why? because we have the crappiest food in history. Selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, that's all your psychiatric, not all, but that's some of your psychiatric drugs. Painkillers, anti-pain, anti-diarrhea, anti-nausea, anti-itch, anti-rash, all the stuff you'd see at any Rite Aid, Walgreens, CVS, or any big box store. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, anti-inflammatory, see anti, against what the body is trying to do. There's a reason why your body's itching, rashing, diarrheaing, and nauseating. There's a reason. There's a reason why it's inflaming. You take a drug to block the body's normal physiology. You block it, suppress it, you inhibit it. Antihistamine, same thing. Runny nose, bleeding. How many girls, when they're 12 years old, get put on a birth control pill because of normal human female physiology? Right? Next. Pharmakia, I won't spend a whole lot of time on this. Medicine or drug from a pharmacy. Sorcery, witchcraft, alchemy, demonism, idolatry. This is straight out of any dictionary. Galatians 5:19 through 21. There's only 5 places in the Bible where it appears. There's number 1. I'm not going to read all that just because we're running behind on time. Galatians 5, no, we will. Now the works of the flesh are evident, which are adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lewdness, idolatry, witchcraft, or sorcery, right here, hatred, contentions, jealousies, outbursts of wrath, selfish ambitions, dissensions, heresies, envy, murder, drunkenness, revelries, and the like, of which I tell you beforehand, just as I also told you in time past, those who practice such things will not inherit the kingdom. There's your pharmakia word right there. Next. That's in Galatians. Revelation 9, this is interesting. And they did not repent of their murders or their pharmakia or their sexual immorality or their thefts. 18, the light of a lamp shall not shine in you anymore, and the voice of the bridegroom and bride shall not be heard in you anymore. For your merchants were, this is so interesting right here. Verse 23, for your merchants were the great men of the earth, for by your sorcery all the nations were deceived. How is that possible that it would be anything other than pharmaceutical companies? How is it possible? Revelation 21, but the cowardly, unbelieving, abominable, murderers, sexually immoral, pharmakiists, pharmakions, pharmacaists, idolaters, and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burns with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. Notice who's in line first. Notice who's in line first in the lake of fire. Revelation 22, but outside are dogs and sorcerers, sexually immoral, murderers, idolaters, whoever loves and practices a lie. What happened in the world 4 years ago? Lies. Idolatry, worship of that which is not God, excessive attachment or trust in a person or thing. This is going to inflame some people, but I'm going to say it. Many have this attachment for their doctors, insurance plans, or the medical system in general. Through media propaganda, all the crap we grew up watching, listening to, seeing, we thought, oh, doctors, they can't make any mistakes. Most spend more on insurance and healthcare than they do on tithing or charitable donations. If you did the math, it'd shock you. Pre-tax insurance plans mean that many people are not even tithing on this before it's stolen from their paychecks without them even seeing it, because it's pre-tax. Isn't that great? Excellent. Here's one for you. Well, and go to the link for me first, Jonathan.
Pull it up because when I first started the computer, it dropped out.
Okay, fine. Questions so far? Technical difficulty night. Yeah. Nothing but the blood, huh? Perfect. Yeah. Minor details, yeah.
Satan doesn't like to be exposed.
Well, yeah, exactly. And, well, and the, I think, I've been wanting to do a class on blood for a long time, but it just never, we've done other topics that are kind of similar, cult of modern death care, pharmakia, the proof is in the poke, life is in the blood. We did that. That was a vaccine class years ago. Shot apocalypse, children of Shotzilla, all the vaccine classes and this and that. So it's always been, blood has always been one of the things that, has kind of been running through a theme through everything, because everything we do here, I didn't mean that as a simile, the blood is running through. But it's a theme that runs through a lot of stuff that we do, because as I tell people, new patients, when they start out with chiropractic, they've been to chiropractors who do neck and back. They've been to insurance companies. They have insurance companies that allow them to have 12 visits a year or whatever. And so when people come in and they start out with chiropractic, I walk them through this whole process of, we're going to do top to bottom, we're going to do front to back, we'll do standing, seated, laying down, whatever, against the wall, against the ceiling. We do shoulder, elbow, wrist, hand, hip, knee, ankle, toe. We'll do neck, back, your ears, your trachea, your chest, your guts, everything. And they're like, what? Yeah, why do we do that? Because when we adjust you, it has nothing to do with cracking your neck, popping your bones, none of that. That's what you've been taught. What does it do? It restores circulation. Because everything going through that we're adjusting, yes, we use the bones to move because that's the hardest, that's the only thing you can grab. We can't adjust you by grabbing your veins or your arteries, you know. We can move everything according to moving your bones. But what's attached to your bones? Your muscles, your tendons, your ligaments. Then what goes through there? Arteries, veins, lymph nodes, blood vessels, nerves, everything. So when we're moving your body, we're moving your elbow, we're adjusting your entire body. We're moving tons of, hundreds of trillions of cells, hundreds of millions of cells, billions of cells. You can't do that with a drug or surgery. And what happens? Your body wakes up, we adjust your wrist, your body wakes up, all of a sudden the blood comes in, boom, it gets the good stuff in, bad stuff out. You can't do that with a drug. What does a drug do? So I walk people through this whole thing, and then I go, okay, what does chiropractic do? Restore circulation, great. Okay, what does foot spa do? Restores circulation, improves blood flow. What does laser do? Blood flow. What does the sauna do? Say it with me. What does the pulse do? What does nutrition do? What does the percussor do? See the pattern? Now, think, what do medical doctors do? What do? They poison what? The blood. With what? Drugs and vaccines. And it's like everybody sees this, it's just this magical moment of revelation where they go, oh yeah, at least until they have someone in their life or a family member or a daughter who's a doctor or something like that to talk them out of everything they just learned. They'll stick around for a while. Here it is. A patient told me about this a little while ago. This is great. Gosh. I can't remember who it was, but she said the name of it. And I said, oh, I know that has to go in nothing but the blood. Does doxorubicin deserve its red devil reputation? This is a chemotherapy drug called Red Devil. I will just read a couple paragraphs here. I'll just show you this right here. Scroll down to the, what is it? Yeah, right here. Doxorubicin is an antibiotic. Antibiotic. What does antibiotic mean? Anti means against. Biotic means what? Life. So anytime you're on an antibiotic, you're taking something that's anti-life. Think about that. Think about that. People survived for 6,000 years without penicillin. And then all of a sudden, in the 1930s, Fleming discovered penicillin. How was penicillin discovered? It was a mold toxin. So don't be thinking that your antibiotic is just a life-saving drug like penicillin. Don't think that that's so great. Okay? It's not normal, not natural. But it's an antibiotic. They don't even tell you. They don't even tell people that the chemotherapy stuff they're putting them on is also an antibiotic. It's a big deal. But it's an antibiotic and a potent chemotherapy drug that has been used to treat cancer since the 60s. I've never heard of it. I've done this, 10 years in practice, 15 years of that. I've never heard of it. I worked in a hospital for 3 years. Never heard of Red Devil chemotherapy. It's part of a group of chemotherapy drugs called anthracyclines, medications which stop cancer cells' growth by blocking an enzyme that's necessary for cancer cells to divide and multiply. It's given as a liquid injected into the what? Right into your blood. Anybody in here, healthcare background? Have you ever heard of Red Devil chemotherapy? Some from the 60s? I'd never heard of it. Can't believe it. It's commonly used as an option to treat many types of cancer, especially once they've become metastatic, which means they've spread to other parts of the body. Among the common cancers it's used to treat: blood, bladder, breast, lung, ovarian. What do all these have in common? None of these even existed before the 1940s. None of them. You will hardly see cases of that in the medical literature, any of those, until after the 1940s. What happened in the 1940s? We'll get to it. I'll show you. People with cancer often receive doxorubicin at the same time as other what? As if the name Red Devil wasn't bad enough. They're going to double it up and triple it up with another chemotherapy drug. However, patients should not take some prescription drugs at the same time and should tell their doctor about all their medications and their what? Supplements. So it's okay to double and triple dip on chemotherapy drugs, but we might have you hold off on some of the other poisons just so we don't kill you immediately. That's what that means. Scroll down. Is it the strongest chemotherapy? Blah, blah, blah. Side effect. You don't even want to see this. This is ridiculous. Just go down to the part, managing the side effects. What to expect, blah, blah, blah. This is so stupid. This is unbelievable. But there are so many times, so many people that this is all they think there is. Okay, right here. Managing Red Devil chemotherapy side effect. I couldn't even believe this. I just had to show this to people. I thought this is unbelievable. Side effects vary for every individual. Patients, you ought to talk to your medical team. You're not talking to your doctor. You're talking to your whole team about any side effects they experience so they can help manage them. Keeping track of symptoms in a notebook or diary can help, blah, blah, blah. Look at what they tell you to do. Certain lifestyle behaviors can help with all kinds of side effects. Scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. Other ways to reduce, scroll down, scroll down. Managing the side effects. Ah, here it is. Scroll up a little bit. What's it say right here? Sometimes, okay, right here. The following might also help relieve nausea. This is what they want you to do to get over the side effects of nausea. Acupuncture, so more needles. Cognitive behavioral therapy. What is that really? Get a psychiatrist. Reading or listening to books, playing video games, watching TV, listening to music can all be helpful. The next one, let's bow down to ancient, demonic, Hindu, pagan gods of wood and stone and open our minds to demonic manifestation. What was the name of this drug again? Interesting. Muscle relaxation training. Doesn't sound, okay, that one might sound like the best out of all of them. Exercise, who cares? And then what? Let's put somebody else in charge of my mind. I couldn't think of a better name for this than Red Devil chemotherapy. Next. So, of course, let's go to the slide. Of course, it begs this one scripture comes to mind. Now the Spirit speaks expressly in the latter times, some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of what? You think that's figurative? You think it's literal? You think it's literal? You think it's figurative? You think it's symbolic? You think it's real? You think it's realistic? All at once? It's happening. You're seeing it. I'm going to prove it to you here in a little bit. Speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their conscience seared to the hot iron. So you'll see that scripture a couple more times tonight. Now, here it is. I'm going to prove it to you. Here is a list of wonderful gifts the medical field has generously given us. Stop right there, and I'll go through human sacrifice. What do you mean by that? Well, medical experiments, haven't we sacrificed a whole lot of humans? Isn't the medical field the #1 killer? Where the medical community is more effective at killing humans than our military. Our military would have been much more successful if they would have allowed our medical system to go to Afghanistan and Iraq. So human sacrifice, where does all the blood go when dead people are embalmed? Whatever happens to it? Does it just go down the drain, go into the sewer? Huh. Never thought about it. Wonder. Human sacrifice. Okay, well, maybe that's getting a little bit too deep. Let's say animal sacrifice. How is it animal sacrifice? Because if you read any published peer-reviewed white paper journal articles that are done in colleges, grad schools, or research centers, it'll say, we raised these animals and we subjected them to this and this, and then we did what? We sacrificed the animals. That's what the term is used in the research articles. Yeah, animal testing. We sacrificed the animals. Next thing, medical experiments. They call that research. Genetic testing. such as like 23andMe and Ancestry.com. And what was the other thing that they were doing where they were getting your genetic sample back in the COVID's hoax when they were jamming stuff into your nose and nobody knows where any of that stuff went? Oh, yeah. The nasal swabs. So the genetic testing, I wonder what they would do if they had your genetics. 23andMe, Ancestry.com. So then there are examples of people being caught in crimes being identified through their genetic sample on 23andMe and Ancestry.com. Because what they'll do is they'll figure out this family, okay, we've got the bad guy's DNA, and then since we know about where they lived, we can figure out what his family DNA possibilities would be, and then they just go on 23andMe and Ancestry.com, and boom, they've got their suspect. What would they do with your genetics? They couldn't do anything bad, could they? Well, yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. Vaccination. Well, we already talked about that. Genes and germs. When everything's genes and everything's germs, then they can just give you an upgrade to change your genes and tell you it was for the germs, right? Hypodermic needles and vaccines. This one here, I taught a whole class called Shotpocalypse. It's also in Children of Shotzilla, I believe, where we talk about how vaccines were started with Edward Jenner back in the 1700s and how they rubbed cowpox into a cut. What did they not do? They didn't pump it in with a hypodermic needle because hypodermic needles weren't invented for another 60 years. So what you think is a vaccine was really an inoculation, and vaccine has nothing to do with hypodermic needles. But that's what they're telling you. And remember, they changed the definition of vaccine back when all this stuff happened. Remember that. So vaccines, not your friends. Psychiatry. You might want to go back and check out all of the Land of the Free, Home of the Crazed, and you don't have a chemical imbalance. Those are some classes we did talking about psychiatry. That's all the ADD, ADHD, OCD, obsessive compulsive crap, all the bipolar, everybody's crazy now. All the depression, anxiety, all that crap. Because what used to be considered a psychiatric diagnosis is now considered totally normal. Stuff like pedophilia, homosexuality, all stuff used to be a mental problem. Now, it's not. Interesting. Chemotherapy, you know what that is, right? See the Red Devil chemotherapy thing, see the cancer classes, chemotherapy, come and get this drug, but make sure you don't. Why would cancer centers tell people to come and get your chemotherapy, but when you go home, you can't touch your kids for 2 or 3 days? Why would that be? Anybody? No, we're not talking about radiation. We're talking about chemotherapy. What is chemotherapy? People don't even know what chemotherapy is. What is it? It's chemical therapy. It's Red Devil chemotherapy. It's chemical. That's what the word means. Chemical therapy. Has nothing to do with radiation. It's chemical therapy. It's drugs. So chemotherapy is chemical therapy. Most people don't even know that. So why would a cancer center bring you in, pump you up with chemotherapy, and then you go home, you can't touch your kids or your grandkids for 3 days? Why? Shedding. What goes in has to come out, right? How would it come out? Peeing, pooing, breathing, sweating. Patients who work in cancer centers, they say, we give the patients their chemotherapy with gloves on, but they swallow it. But next is radiation. What is radiation? Ionizing radiation. It's a big deal. X-rays, CAT scans, ultrasounds. All the women out there getting ultrasounds so that they can tell if the baby is a boy or a girl, but they don't even know if the ultrasounds can affect your baby. I wonder why all the kids are so screwed up. Nobody asks these questions. Are there studies out there that say ultrasounds are bad? You bet. What else did the medical field? You see where this is going? Ooh. So, I'm going to ruffle some feathers. What else did the medical field give us? These gifts that keep on giving. Heroic life-saving surgery. Like, when was the last time somebody raise your hand, if somebody in here saw somebody with a cast in the last 10 years? Anybody? Did people stop breaking bones? What happened to kids falling on their face? Huh? Where did casts go? 20 years? Can anybody remember a cast? Anybody? Remember? You know what I'm talking about? The plaster thing that people walk around with a sling? Nobody even, you know what I'm talking about? What happened to them? Emergency C-sections. Let me think. You give a woman Pitocin, and then you give her an epidural. One speeds her up, one slows her down. All of a sudden, her blood pressure goes sky high. What are we going to have to do? An emergency C-section. Where did C-section, the term C-section, come from? Who thought he was? God. Interesting. Huh. They couldn't be tricking us, could they? What else? Eugenics. What is eugenics? That's a favored race. We're trying to get rid of the bad people. We're trying to get rid of the non-productive people. That's Nazi Germany. Think of Nazi Germany. Where did Nazi Germany get that idea? From America. It's interesting. Francis Dalton, Charles Darwin, all that evolution and atheism stuff, all came out of America. They shipped it over to Nazis. The Nazis designed ways to kill people. We brought the Nazis back over after World War II and put them in charge of the pharmaceutical companies. That's why they all have German names. Very interesting. That's why they all, quote me on that, that's why they all have German names. So eugenics, if you want to know more about that and you want to get really, really disgustingly vomitous, go check out the WellWorks class that we did on eugenics, the eugenics agendas. We go through and show you what your politicians have said about how they're going to decrease the population. Gene editing, we know about that. You can have designer babies, this and that. Planned Parenthood, how is that a gift of the medical field? Planned Parenthood, how is that a gift of the medical field? Well, family planning, reproductive health services, blah, blah, blah. Birth control, who designed birth control? I love that. Oh, I love when people just have to show me how small their testicles are. I just love it. Who gave us birth control? Invented by a Nazi. Look it up. Interesting stuff. That's another word for depopulation, infertility. And then people get on birth control pills, and then farther down the road they get on intrauterine devices, ladies, IUDs, and then they're wondering why they are in a state of controlled menopause for 15 years, and then they wonder why they can't have babies. Abortion. Who handles all the abortions in the United States? What kind of doctors? Chiropractic doctors or medical doctors? By the way, where did 70 million dead babies go? Just a thought. What was another thing that you would call, how would you call sterilization? We know how to medically sterilize people. By the way, who does this? Is this natural health people or medical people? Medical. What's another word for sterilization? Depopulation. Depopulation. Yep. Bioweapons. Who designs bioweapons? Government. And why would they do that? What is a bioweapon for? To kill people. It's the only thing you do with a bioweapon is kill humans. Fertility treatment centers. Why would people have to go to fertility treatment centers? Because of this, because of this, because of this, because of this. Is all sterilization known about? Or are there things in the food, air, water, chemicals, cosmetics, cleaning supplies that actually sterilize people? Yeah, so then if they're all sterilized by their own fork, like Royal Lee said at the beginning, if they're all sterilized, where are they going to be going? Fertility treatment centers for a multi-gazillion dollar industry because everybody will pay however much money it takes to have a kid through somebody else's zygote or a surrogate or, now we're going to do it in AI little baby pods. It's going to be great. What could go wrong? Blood chemistry panels. See why we talked about that earlier? Medical field, another gift. Blood chemistry panels. What does a blood chemistry panel tell you? Nothing. It's obsolete in 30 seconds. There is nothing that you're going to get out of that that's going to be useful information. Nothing. but your insurance will charge you for, or will allow you to do it. And where does it all go? They only need a couple little drops. Why do they have to take like 7 vials? Where does it all go? Who gets it? I don't know. People don't care. People don't ask. IV therapy. What is IV therapy? Intravenous therapy, right? They're using venom peptides. Venom peptides from what? Snakes and what else? Spiders and cone snails and cobras, and it's crazy. And you get it delivered right to your office or your home. Isn't it great? They'll poison you anywhere you want. You could call right over here across the street, and you could have them come over here and give you your hormone injections, or recover from what do they call it? Hangover recovery cocktail. Right. I've shown it in class before. It's crazy. It's our neighbors right across the street. Neighbors. Radioactive dyes and tracing agents. What do those do? That's your PET scans, that's your CAT scans, that's your MRIs with or without contrast. That's the with contrast, right? When they say with a contrast, that means you got a radioactive dyeing agent or a tracing agent injected into your what? So that it would blow up on a screen so they could see the tumor, AKA nuclear medicine. Nuclear medicine. You want to make a lot of money? Go into some nuclear medicine. Want to impress your girlfriend? Tell her you're studying nuclear medicine. I'm not just a doctor. I'm a nuclear doctor. How about these? Dialysis clinics. Why are there so many dialysis clinics? You know, my first office, I don't know, 1,300 square foot, something like that, mile and a half that way over by the high school. I was stuck in the middle of a parking lot, and I will never forget. I got that office. I walked out. I was so proud. Here I am on the sidewalk, and I look this way. There's a cancer center. I look right here. There's a dialysis center. And I look over here, and there's a pediatrics office. And I thought, hallelujah. I'm going to steal every one of their patients. But the dialysis clinics, why are there so many dialysis clinics? Because there's so many radioactive dyes and tracing agents. There's so many drugs that are cytotoxic to your kidneys. And then when people go into the hospital and they get a dye and then it destroys their kidneys, then they're on dialysis for how long? The rest of their life. Now you're a lifelong customer. They got you. They snake bit you into next week and next year all at once, right? So dialysis centers, kidneys are destroyed. Allergy clinics. What about those? Well, let's see. We caused a bunch of allergies from pumping a bunch of stuff into you with a needle. I know how we'll fix your allergies. We'll pump a bunch more stuff into you with a needle. Right? That's what the allergy clinics do. Allergy shots, how many people have to go for their allergy shots once a month, twice a month, right? And where do you get your inhalers? Like the lady we were talking about there. Oh, perfect. So we inhale the drugs, we inject the drugs, we absorb the drugs. What are all the patches? Absorption. As if people don't have enough drugs. You know what we need? I think we need this. We need a lot more doctors out there prescribing drugs because we don't have enough doctors prescribing enough drugs. The U.S. is 5% of the world's population, and we eat over 50% of the drugs in the world. Wow. And you're wondering why you can't communicate with your brother-in-law or your sister or your aunt or your uncle or your stepkids. They're all drugged. They're medicated, vaccinated, glyphosated, fluoridated, food sedated, radiated. We've talked about it. Dermatology clinics, what about that? They're going to freeze it, they're going to burn it, they're going to cut it, they're going to splice it, they're going to dice it, they're going to fry it, they're going to saute it, they're going to do whatever. And they're going to tell you along the way to stay out of the what? And they're going to tell you, I guarantee what they cut off you, I can predict, I'll diagnose it ahead of time. You know what it's going to be? Pre-cancer. It's always pre-cancer. A baby is pre-cancer. A pregnant mother is pre-cancer. Everybody's pre-cancer. So see how they do that? They call it something that you can't argue with. It's precancerous. Well, no shit. It's unbelievable. Oh, can you tell this fires me up? Because this is the cleanup that you have to do in wrecking people's minds so that they no longer get completely screwed by these atheists. And still, you have to convince people. It's crazy. But the dermatology clinics, they're packed. The sun is your enemy. Remember that. Transhumanism, what's that? merging man with machine. Humans have to be upgraded because humans suck. So what we have to do is we have to plug a bunch of stuff into you. We're going to do a corneal implant. We're going to do a pacemaker. We're going to do some fake knees, some fake arms, some fake hips. We'll cut off your arm and put a fake one on there. And then we'll have our friend Elon Musk put a chip in your brain. And so we'll link you up to the matrix and we'll insert you into the transhumanistic hybrid mainframe. That's what that is. And that's all coming to you from who? Medical doctors. They're not your friends. They never were. I hate to tell you. They hate you. They want you dead. Life insurance actuarial tables. What are those all about? You know where the life insurance gets all the statistics? So they can tell when you're going to die. Say you're, they probably don't do this for policies under a certain amount, but if you're a big heavy hitter and you go in for, $50 million life insurance policy or a $500 million life insurance policy or something like that, do you think they don't know when you're going to die? They've got the statistics on every person that's died for the last 150 years, how long they lived, when they were born, what they ate, how many drugs they were on, how many surgeries they... You know the biggest predictors to health and longevity? How many drugs you're on and how many surgeries you've had. And the insurance companies know it all. So they get paid a lot of money to be able to predict. They save a lot of money by being able to predict when you're going to die. And they know how fast they can kill you if you're in their system. So these life insurance actuarial tables are a wonderful tool for life insurance companies to ensure a good bet. And it all comes from medical statistics harvested by medical doctors, AKA. Just know that. AKA atheists. Artificial intelligence. We're going to replace the pharmacists. We're going to replace the primary care physicians, and we're going to replace the radiologists because humans can't do that crap anymore. Adrenochrome. We won't talk too much about that, but that's an elite drink for a new generation. It's better than Pepsi. It's Microsoft and, by the way, Microsoft and I believe it was Coke linked up, and they're going to start putting nanoparticles into, trackable nanoparticles into the soft drinks. Yep. Been telling people to stop that stuff for a long time. Organ removal. Why do they remove, what's the first organ they remove in most people? Tonsils. First line of defense for everything that goes in your body through ingestion, drinking, or eating. So, of course, the first sign of a sore throat, they're going to rip out your tonsils. Then they're going to take what? Adenoids. Then they're going to take what? Close. Yeah. Okay, let's just say they take your appendix. Then they're going to take what? They'll probably do gallbladder while they're doing your appendix just to save you 2 trips. Am I right or am I right? And they'll wake you up out of surgery and say, well, we took your gallbladder and we took your appendix, saying it like they did you a favor. Without ever telling you that for the rest of your life, you probably need some kind of digestive enzyme or bile salt to be able to digest the fat. So then you're going to have absorption issues later on where you can't absorb what you eat, which is going to lead to what? Nutritional deficiencies and diseases that are diagnosed as medical problems. Okay? Then they're going to take what? You forgot about wisdom teeth. Don't forget about those because they take them out, 4 of them tied to 4 organs in your body because everything derives from ectoderm, from nervous system tissue, right? So your teeth are tied to your organs. So if people have an organ problem, could it be because they have a tooth problem at the tooth that corresponds to that organ? Or if they have an organ problem, could it be because they have an underlying problem in the tooth that they don't know is there? We've seen it many times. So then they're going to take what? So we're already up to 1, 2, well, adenoids. We'll just count tonsils and adenoids as one. Wisdom teeth, appendix, gallbladders. Then what?
Ovaries.
Then what? Then what? Thyroid. I've seen women in here missing 7 organs. I've seen women missing 7 organs taking 20 meds. Still walking. Unbelievable. And that, all of that, is because of these atheists and evolutionists that hate you. They hate you. And it makes me sick. So the organ transplants, next on the list gets longer every year. Why do organ transplants go up and up and up and up? What is happening where so many people have to have organ transplants? Why? Why would that be? Could it be because the blood is polluted and the organs are getting destroyed? Could it be because the organs are falling apart and they don't have the proper raw materials and the original equipment manufacturer parts to be able to fix the organ? I have a better idea. Why don't we rebuild the organ instead of replacing the organ? How about that? That's a novel idea, isn't it, Gordon? I think that would work. I think that's a great idea. But so many people are running the wheels off the car because they don't want to pay out anything out of pocket. Well, I've been getting extorted by my employer-sponsored insurance plan for 4 decades. Why would I want to pay anything out of pocket? Because you only get drugs and surgery for your employer-sponsored health plan, right? Then we got blood donation. Where does it all go? If you've seen The New Age for Old Devils, I explained the blood donation and the plasma donation pretty extensively. What's happening to all the plasma? Okay, I'll just tell you. Inner city places, they put up a brand new, drive downtown Cleveland, go check out the new plasma center. Then the government comes in, doses up everybody on meth and coke and all the crap, all the street drugs, all the crack and all that stuff in the meth. So the government comes in, drops it all off. Everybody gets hooked. They go into the plasma centers to perpetuate the whole thing because they sell their plasma and get a little bit of dope, right? Where does that plasma go? Into the drugs. Because the human body is the only machine out there that can create some of these proteins. So the pharmaceutical companies buy the plasma, and then the plasma goes into what? The drugs. So now you've become a what? Cannibal. Commercialized cannibal. You are paying money for your drugs to be made by crackheads in an inner city so that then you can ingest their blood, and they're laughing. They're laughing at you. The medical field is laughing at you. These people know what they're doing. And it's a ritual. It's a ritual. So check out New Age for Old Devils, DDNH 187, Murder in Progress. Commercialized cannibalism, that's it. So now you've got, it really is Soylent Green. It really is Soylent Green. It really is people are eating people. It's crazy. It's nuts. And it's a ritual, and it's happening. And there are whole documentaries on the blood donation industry, which was all started by who? Who started the blood donation industry? Rockefellers. Who's in charge of the American Heart Association? Rockefeller. Hospice care. What do we call that? We call that human euthanasia. That's what we call that. Children's hospitals. You should go check out Your Kids Are Sicker Than You class, and I tell you where St. Jude's Children's Cancer Research Hospital comes from. If you want me to tell you afterwards, when you go through every checkout lane and they ask you, would you like to donate to St. Jude's? I'll tell you, if you remind me after the camera shut off, I'll tell you where St. Jude's came from. But children's hospitals, my question is not, why don't we build a new children's hospital? My question is, why do we have hospitals for children? Nobody's asking these questions. Why is this generation of kids the only one that's going to be outlived by their parents? It's nuts. Nursing homes, they didn't exist before the 60s. Do you remember a nursing home before the 1960s? Anybody? I don't. That was a joke. I wasn't there. But anybody before the 60s? Mental asylums. What happened to them? What happened to the mental asylums?
Turned into hospitals.
Turned into hospitals. Some of them turned into colleges. They put them in the government. Yeah, pain clinics, whatever happened, pain clinics are a brand new thing. Why are pain clinics a brand new thing? Because of the opiate epidemic. The opiate epidemic was caused by who? Government, pharmaceutical companies, and the government together, right? And then the ketamine clinics, those are, they're here. They got them in Cleveland. That's where they inject ketamine, which is a horse tranquilizer, to disassociate you so that you treat your anxiety and depression. It's not a hallucinogenic, but it's a tranquilizer. It's a horse tranquilizer. Commercially, it's a horse tranquilizer. But people started figuring it out that it could give you a euphoric buzz. So now it's legally regulated, and now it's a way to treat people with anxiety and depression. Ketamine clinics. Epidemic of neurodegenerative disease. What do I mean by that? What do I mean by that? Why are all the kids wearing diapers and helmets? Epidemic. 1 in 36 kids or whatever. We'll go to the stats here in a minute. But epidemic of neurodegenerative disease also includes what? I have probably 6 or 8 patients who are taking care of their moms and or dads who all have what? Dementia, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's. Don't even know where they are anymore. It's horrible. It's sad. Epidemic of neurodegenerative disease. 50 years ago, it didn't exist. What's happening? Epidemic of childhood obesity and sickness. What's going on there? I know exactly what's going on there, right? Methadone clinics. What's methadone clinic? Makes total sense. They're hooked on opiates, so let's use methadone, a drug, to get them off opiates, a drug. Makes total sense. Who wins on both of those angles? The drug companies. Oh, God, isn't it great? Integrative health clinics, what's that? What's an integrative health clinic? That's where you have a medical doctor in league with a chiropractor or an acupuncturist or a therapist or something, and they all just, use different modalities and this and that. And it's integrative because it's everybody agreeing that we need to keep this patient really sick for a very long time. Integrative. They integrate their decision-making to be absolutely preposterous. Doesn't make any sense. Joint replacements. Joint replacements. Let me see. Hips and knees. Why are so many people getting hip and knee replacements? Remember what Royal Lee said at the very beginning? Chemical therapy, drugs, poisoning people to correct the reactions of starvation. Why do you think people's hips and knees, and now we can do shoulder replacements. Hips and knees, ankle replacements I've heard of recently. So now we can do hips, knees, shoulders.
Wow, what else do we need?
Why are joints falling apart? Nutrition. And drugs are amplifying and speeding it up. I got a better idea. Why don't we fix their joints instead of replacing their joints? You know how much we'd save in healthcare? It'd be mind-blowing. Then the implantable medical records. All I will tell you about implantable medical records is just read Revelation chapter 13. And that's what they're going to do. Because once people's health records get so complex, the only person who's going to be able to make sense out of them is artificial intelligence. Because no doctor is going to be able to figure it out. Bluetooth pacemakers, hearing aids, and glucose monitors. How many of you know relatives or people who have something implanted in their body that communicates with the cloud? Here's a lesson. There is no cloud. There is only someone else's computer. Okay? Depopulation, we already talked about that one a little bit. Human population growth has decreased for the first time ever after the COVIDs. Transgenderism, we talked about that. Mental illness. Why would there be boy parts? Why would boys be wanting to be girls and girls wanting to be boys? Go back to Shotzilla, go back to Shotpocalypse, and we go through all of the different aborted fetal stem lines, fetal cell stem lines, stem cells, aborted fetal lines, HEK and WI38 and all these. There's 4 or 5, 6 different aborted fetal stem lines that from aborted fetuses created in a ritual. They took the blood out of the fetuses and they put them into vaccines. Where was I saying? So if we take the DNA and the components from a girl and put them into a boy, what do you think is going to happen 5, 10, 15, 20 years? If we take the stuff from a boy fetus and put it in a girl, what do you think is going to happen? I wonder if that's what's happening right now. This right here is not by accident. That's planned. Genital mutilation, you can't be, we don't want to. All the hippies and the New Agers, they don't want to do, all the libtards, they don't want to do circumcision anymore because it's barbaric. But it's A-okay to turn a boy into a girl and a girl into a boy. Isn't that great? That's great. Are you guys excited? This is uplifting, isn't it? Physician-assisted suicide. Remember Jack Kevorkian? Whatever happened to him? Now we've got elective euthanasia in Canada. It's called medical assistance in dying, and the government will pay to have you murdered for free. And Oregon. And then, of course, we just had to put in there climate change. It doesn't really fit, but it does. Because now the Spirit speaks expressly that in the latter time some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of who? Correct. Finally, we're almost done. Summary. Here it is. Modern medicine, 150 years, no cures and more diseases. Would anybody disagree with that? It's going crazy. All while new construction of hospitals, disease centers, nursing homes, and funeral homes going off the charts. Also, all while chronic diseases are skyrocketing with no end in sight, and people still flock to this occultic system of Nazi-based healthcare after their doctors wanted them in concentration camps 3 years ago. So here's a few things to understand. Your pediatricians and your primary doctors will not tell you any of this. Understand that you are seeing what you are seeing in those silly commercials on TV, understand where your insurance premiums are going, and understand who is murdering your family members. This right here, very interesting. I could teach a whole class on this right here. They don't want that. They don't want that. Here's a note for you too. Why don't you hear about this anywhere? Right here. You're not going to hear about it at church. Large percentage of the attendees work in the above industries. That's why you've never heard of it before. I worked at a church that was about 1.5 miles away from the headquarters of Pfizer for about 5.5 years, and I never heard any of this. And I thought, why did I never hear this? Because half the church worked at Pfizer. U.S. healthcare statistics. Widespread vaccination started in the late 40s. Remember when we were looking at the red devil chemo and we said leukemia, blood, bladder cancer, blah, 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 breast cancer? Never heard of it. Never heard of it before the 40s. When did you hear about breast cancer? When did it come into the public consciousness?
80s.
Huh?
80s.
1980s. How old were people who got breast cancer in the 1980s during that period? What was happening? Huh? What was happening at this point? Correct. So fast forward 40 years, 10-year-olds, 10 and 12 and 15 and 20-year-olds, fast forward 40 years to the 1980s, and boom, now you've got prostate cancer, bone cancer, brain cancer, bladder cancer, all kinds of cancers nobody had ever heard of. Huh, I wonder. And they admitted, the CDC and the WHO admitted that there were things that were causing cancer in the polio vaccines, but nobody wants to talk about it. Vaccines are the golden child. You can't talk about vaccines. If you don't believe in vaccines, you're a tinfoil, conspiracy theorist. But this says something else. Nobody else has answers to these questions. So the U.S. is 5% of the population, consumes 50% of the drugs. The U.S. is the largest spender on healthcare. $4.5 trillion. What do you think we could do with $4.5 trillion in a year? If we took that $4.5 trillion, we could start at least 2 more wars. I mean, we've only got 3 going right now. I'm thinking we should just up the ante. We could go for 5 at a time. We start the draft. Print more money. Yeah. I'm thinking we could do this. We have the highest infant mortality rate in the world. We have the highest maternal mortality rate in the world.
Crazy.
Isn't that nuts? But you live in the land of the free and the home of the brave. You live in the most expensive, most pharmaceutically advanced society in all of history, with all the drugs, all the vaccines, all the surgeries, all the procedures, and people are dying in droves from healthcare. We lead the world in flu vaccines, breast cancer screening, and colorectal screening. We also lead the world in cancer. Isn't that interesting? Next. We're ranked 52nd in life expectancy and 39th in healthcare delivery. We're the most obese nation in the world with twice the rate of any other nation. But it has nothing to do with the food. Remember that. 1 in 5 Americans has an autoimmune disease. We teach a class called You Don't Have an Autoimmune Disease. All the people that think they have rheumatoid arthritis and multiple sclerosis and all this crap, it's ridiculous. They think they have Hashimoto's. They can't even tell you what Hashimoto's is. From 01 to 17, type 2 diabetes in those younger than the age of 20 increased by 95%. You know why? Food. 1 in 36 children wears diapers and bangs their head against the wall so they have to wear a helmet. Doctors are baffled. 50 years ago, you never knew what this word meant. How's healthcare doing?
Not good.
For the first time, parents will outlive their children. Doctors are baffled. Next. Continue. Heroic cardiology has failed. Heart disease is the #1 killer. But you know what I see on every billboard in this town?
Heart healthy.
Heart health. Yeah, Erlanger. One of the top heart hospitals in the whole world. Stroke center. Come to here. If you're going to have a stroke, come to us. Right? Children, I don't know what it says. You know what I mean. Top 10 stroke care in the known universe. It's so stupid. It's like they never advertise that they're the worst. It's like everybody's the top. How is it possible? Children are sicker than ever and can't have peanuts without dying. Schools, it's illegal to carry peanuts in schools. How's it possible? Peanuts in the vaccines. Peanut oil is one of the main ingredients of the vaccines. Nobody wants to talk about it, but I've got the literature. Look on the front counter. I've got a book that thick. Tells you everything that's in every vaccine right out there. Nobody wants to read it, except our patients. Because that would mean you'd have to go home and talk to your family and tell them what you learned. See? People don't want to do that. So the summary. We have the most expensive healthcare system due to our overpriced and unnecessary drugs, which according to the Journal of the American Medical Association and Fauci's Institutes of Medicine, are the third leading cause of death behind heart disease and cancer. I'll say that again. Drugs are the third leading cause of death behind nutritional deficiencies and toxicities. That's the way to read that, because that's what they are. So disease is not happening to you, it's happening because of you. It's happening due to deficiencies and toxicities, not pathologies. Every time they come up with a new name of some new stupid disease, just think this. That's what it is. Simple deficiencies are mistaken for pathological conditions. Many are still using the system in an attempt to extend their lives. Are you serious? The stuff I just showed you, they're using that system that brought us all that. They're saying, I'm going to live longer because I'm going to the white coat atheists with snakes on their name tags. It's crazy. Once again, I'll show you that. Seducing spirits and doctrines of devils. What are they teaching? What are they telling you? They're telling you that we can fix you, we can get you healthy by shooting you with poison. That's what they're telling you. Next. Almost done. Oh, commercial break. You ready, Sam? Come on up. We're almost done.
All right, this one's another one about allergies. It's a good time for those, I guess. She said, for over 10 years, I have had seasonal allergies. I went through allergy testing and had a sinus infection every single fall and spring. This year, being at Divine Design, I haven't taken any allergy medication, and I don't even have the sniffles. So.
Okay. Our last little commercial break here. Let's check this out. Hey, Doc, what happened in the years of 2020? There was a cold and everyone turned into communist retards. So what's the one thing you most look for in a woman? Double X chromosomes? I just wanted to make my own health decisions. Relax, everyone. Government health experts are here. Oh, yeah. That's a dude. That's Beetlejuice. That's an Egyptian mummy. That's a cadaver. That is Ronald McDonald's sister. That's Ronald McDonald himself. And she's high as a kite. Yep. There you have it. Hold my Febreze and Doritos while I Google if raw milk is safe. That's a cow saying that. Isn't that funny? Biblical reasons to avoid medical blood desecrations. I'm just going to blow through these. Sixth commandment, don't murder. Children are recognized by God at the point of conception. Children are knit together by God in the womb. Children are blessings from God, and children are valued and loved. So why are we going and killing all the kids? And why are we aborting them? And why are we taking their DNA and putting them in the vaccines? Mankind is created in his image. Don't kill kids. Amos condemned the Ammonites because they ripped open expectant mothers in Gilead. Horrible story, you should read it. Child killing was one of the major reasons God's anger burned against the kingdom of Israel, bringing about their destruction and exile. Child sacrifice, once again, prohibited. Don't do it. But how are vaccines named? Just a little historical note. Vacca is the Italian, aka Latin word for cow, right? What is a vaccination? Cowpox. So vacca, vaccination. So when they were sacrificing to Molech, what kind of critter was Molech again? A bull. So you mean a cow. So you mean a vacca. Interesting, isn't it? Huh. What are the chances of that? That we're sacrificing children to Molech via vacca, just like we did 4,000 years ago. Blood represents the life force of the human or animal. Human blood was to be kept pure under all circumstances. Read this right here. Read all that stuff. Human blood was to be kept pure under all circumstances. Free of contaminants like what? Animal parts and what else? Blood. Pharmakia, witchcraft, sorcery, alchemy. Those are the 5 scriptures we talked about already. Next. For you created my inmost being, you knit me together in my mother's womb. Psalm 139, you should all know that. We're fearfully and wonderfully made. Next. There's no for the greater good cause or public exception listed anywhere in the Bible, but you had churches and pastors shutting down and putting vaccine clinics in their churches. The Bible does not reference vaccines specifically, but it does reference pharmaceutical medication to which vaccines belong. So, what should you be looking for in true healthcare? There it is. If you want patented drugs, you want modern medicine. If you want ancient creation, natural medicine. Side effects versus actual healing. Disease specialists versus health specialists. How many people go to a diabetes specialist for 20, 30 years, and what do they still have after they have their diabetes specialist? They still got the diabetes. If you want surgeries versus chiropractic laying on of hands. Pretty biblical thing right there. Too bad most people think it's neck pain, back pain, headache, and too bad most chiropractors sell into that and buy into that too. Procedures in modern medicine are largely unnecessary, so you don't need mammograms, colonoscopies, stress tests. You're never going to have cancer. How about that? How about you eliminate the worry of it out of your life, and you don't ever need a colonoscopy? I don't know. That's inflammatory to some people because their insurance pays them to get a colonoscopy every year. You know what they're eventually going to find? Cancer. Ask anybody with mammogram. Once they go for mammograms for a few years, what happens? Ask them. Pregnancy is a disease versus pregnancy is sacred. Diagnostic tests versus those are all largely unnecessary. CAT scans, MRIs, blood labs, all that crap. We don't do it. We don't need to. We get people better when they're ready by changing their blood. Getting their blood clean. We clean their blood. It's crazy. And then you can replace body parts or we can rebuild them. Which one would you rather have? You can have fear of always living in some, when's stage 4 metastatic cancer coming for me, or you can have faith over here that you're never going to have it. Does that sound like a stretch? Not in my world. In my world, we're right here. We don't go to this world, ever. We don't even allow people who come here to go to that world. It's crazy. It's expensive versus affordable. It's dangerous to everybody versus safe for everybody. We treated dogs today, for crying out loud. You can't kill them. Nothing we do here can hurt you. You get death in modern medicine, you get life over here. You get vaccines, you get natural immunity. You get from the outside in, you're going to get some magic special pill, thrill, potion, lotion, something from the outside in, or you're going to get health from the inside out. You're going to rebuild your organs and rebuild your joints from the inside out because you can't do it from the outside in. It's impossible unless you do it with a surgeon and a scalpel. Controlled by insurance, controlled by you. Modern medicine is going to upgrade humanity. Natural medicine honors the creator's design. Atheistic evolution, biblical creation, opposite to the word, congruent with the word. It's man-made, it's God-made. Any questions? It's very, very simple. I think we're just going to forego the video at the end, Jonathan. We got to get everybody out of here. So I think that's it. Oh, problem solution. Go back to that. Jeez. Problem. Modern medicine poisons human blood with drugs and vaccines. Solution. Everything in this office restores blood flow. This is not by accident. That is the whole tenet. That is the whole process of what we do here. Questions? Anything? Fabulous. All set. I'm done. All right. Yay.